down. Do you know how I feel? To get to what's real. Hello, 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 hello. I'm gonna just grab my notebook because that line in that song, you gotta roll with the punches to get to what's real, reminds me of something that I heard today, so just a sec. I was actually listening to an audiobook as I walked my rounds on this, day 62, day 61? Oh, you know me. Trying to do some laps today, get some movement in. Where is it? I was reading, and maybe you've read it yourself, or listening to the audiobook of Untamed by Glennon Doyle. And interestingly enough, as synchronicities happen, I got a beautiful card from my niece yesterday, and which is when I started reading the book or listening to the audiobook, and here's the postcard that she sent me, and it's entitled Untamed. No coinky dinkies. So it's on my little altar here right now, and anyways, getting back to great book, by the way. A lot of it you probably already know, but it's good to hear a reminder, and she's a great storyteller. Let me just see if I can find the quote that I think I wrote down. Oh, so on the subject of you've got to roll with the punches to get to what's real. She was talking about pain, and first comes the pain, then the waiting, then the rising. And pain is not tragic, it's magic. Suffering is tragic. Suffering is when we avoid our pain and miss our becoming. Those are her words. And then she says, what scares me more than feeling it all is missing it all. So I loved that kind of tied into some of the thoughts that were going around in my mind yesterday about feeling things and just, using this space and time to just allow feelings to arise, yes, but allowing myself to simply feel everything in the moment. When you connect with the moment, you feel it, and you connect to it through feeling it. Anyways, feeling's good. All kinds of it. It's what we're here for in human bodies, right? It's a big part of our humanness. So yeah, Glennon Doyle, Untamed. It's occupying my mind. It's a good book. Is there a little note there from someone? Yeah. Awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about vibration, though. I know I kind of went down the rabbit hole, but I had a story about food that came up. and the vibration of food. I've been struggling. I've been struggling with the food here at the hospital this time. Even though I've eaten it before, and there's certain things I like and look forward to, and I'm ordering on the menu, and then it comes and I haven't been able to eat it. And I think the vibration's off, right? And Sri Brahmananda Saraswati would cook most of his own food and use mantra as he was cooking, and he liked to eat his own cooking, and so do I. So does Sharon Gannon, and so do you probably. You know, the love you put into the food, when you're preparing it, when you're creating a special meal, you probably love to then eat it, right? Well, many years ago, when I first started going down the rabbit hole of yoga, and I was staying up way too late on the computer at night, like I wasn't practicing asana or meditating, I was reading about saints and researching and drinking in literature about people online. Long after the kids would go to bed, I stumbled across this place, and I have tried to find it since, and I cannot find it. This ashram in India, where when it came time for all the people who were staying at the ashram to come and eat, they would line up, and the most elevated practitioners, the most long-term residents of the ashram, those that were considered to be the most high, were the ones that not only had prepared the food, but would serve the food to the people. Only their hands could touch the food that was going to nourish the people. And as the people lined up to receive their food, these beautiful people who had dedicated their life to service and to practice, and were the long-term residents and superiors of the ashram, I don't know how the language to use, they would pass the plate of food that they had most certainly silently blessed in their minds, look that person in the eye and pass them their nutrition. And so I loved that story. I found it fascinating. And so later on, when I did these, many years ago, I did these 5-hour yoga events, and I called them a bliss binge. And it would be 5 hours. People would come, they would relax and have a cup of tea. I would wash their feet when they entered the room. They would be given tea and just told to go and sit and relax before we jumped into anything, you know? It was all about extracting yourself from the world and entering into a new state of being and into a new way of being. And that had to be slow. Everything's so fast, right? Drop your coat at the door, stuff your keys in the locker, you know, get to your mat on time, and let's go time. Well, this was a different way. It was to invoke bliss and unplugging, and not too many people at that time, and this is kind of interesting, would take 5 hours out of their life away from their families to care for themselves. This is back in the early 2000s, I guess, shortly after I started teaching. But I thought it was a great idea, and people really did enjoy it. So we'd start out with tea and a slow extraction from day-to-day life, and then make our way into the yoga asana room and start to move our bodies and have a nice class, do some chanting, and then come back out. And while we had been in practicing yoga in the yoga room, I had some dear friends. Jackie French is one of them, and she might be on here tonight, who would help me serve the food. Most of the food, in the beginning, until I found Jenny Ong, I prepared myself. I wanted my love to go into the food. So I'd create this great big Indian vegan feast, lay it all out in beautiful dishes, and then Jackie, she would love dressing up in saris and mehndi, and she was the classic East Indian. I never did get too into dressing up in that kind of garb, but she would stand there just like those beautiful people at the ashram that I read about, and she would it was set up buffet style, so she would hand them, while gazing lovingly in their eyes, their empty plates, to then go and fill down the laden table of feastdom. And so my story, though, comes back to a time when I was making soup in my kitchen, and at the same time, and usually I like to cook uninterrupted by myself. I like it to be a very meditative thing. I'm not very good with small talk while I'm cooking, multitasking. I like to cook in silence, have my mind right, focus on my movements, and stay very present with the food. And this one time, though, I was throwing a meal together. The kids were smaller, and there's a lot of stuff going around in the house, and I got a phone call that I ended up in kind of an argument. Like, it was a distasteful conversation that wasn't harmonious. I should have just hung up and said, can we talk about this later? But I continued making this meal, and I was upset. And, the conversation was not harmonious or pleasant. It was hard, challenging conversation. Finally hung up the phone, finished making the soup. Well, no one would eat it. It's just like, I don't like this, Mom. It's like, I've made this soup 100 times before. Eat it. And, I was still upset, obviously. And I had prepared a meal, and it was food that would go to waste. And I realized, though, that food was full of discontent, disharmony, and who wants to eat that, right? Who wants to eat that? It's hard to digest that. So as I sit here in my little kutir that I've created, this little cabin in the hospital, I feel like it's my little sanctuary, where I'm working diligently to raise my vibration, to stay well through this process, and I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm happy with my progress so far, although my numbers are starting to really drop, so I could see some decline in the next couple of days. I've got a very sore throat and a funny mouth and disrupted digestive system, but that's nothing, that's no big deal that I can't surmount. For most of the day, I've been engaged in reading and learning and having conversations and pulling Daniel Laporte Truth Bomb cards with the cleaning staff and just having a little fun. But the vibration that I'm trying to cultivate within myself by resting, by thinking positive thoughts, by imagining my body healing, by keeping my atmosphere clean and devoid of complaining thoughts, my vibration, and thinking all the great thoughts over Thanksgiving too, so much love. Love is a very high vibration. And then that food comes in, and the vibration is just not there, And that's why I think I can't eat it and digest it very well right now. I have lots of other food that the girls have brought me, and food in the fridge, and Kira's coming shortly with some more food, so I am by no means going hungry, but you might want to notice that if your family sticks their nose up at your food, or if you, go to a restaurant and something feels off, or if you just feel like staying home and eating your own nurturing food. Food has vibration in it too, and you are eating, Sri Brahmananda Saraswati would say, you're eating the energy of the person that created it. Just a kind of a fun story about food. Hope it didn't ruin your appetite. Hope you've already had supper. But it does make a point for creating food with love and with joy and with the things that you do want to eat more of. Harmony, blessings. You can have a lot of fun with it. You don't have to do it quiet and serious like me, but I hope you've had a lovely day. I'm in a very quiet place today and happy and wondering just a little bit what tomorrow might bring, but knowing that I am on day, what is this? Thursday was day 0. So how old am I today? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 days old today. My immune system is 5 days old. So I'm day 5, yay. With that, I'm going to say I love you and good night. Go jump around with whoever it was that was singing that song. Oh, there's a little message there. I can't see anything without my glasses. You're eating your veggie stew. Good, I'm glad I didn't ruin your appetite, Marlene. Big love to you all. Night, night.